Hello guys, here is a tutorial about compositing your render image. Compositing to me is really important and probably the happiest process when I have to do in my entire production pipeline. Now, the software here I'm gonna use is After Effects for now. Okay, maybe I can show you later how to do that in Nuke 2 in a later video. But for now, let's focus on After Effects. Okay. Now, to load in any footage you have rendered, just double click in the project and then you can load your files. I have a lot of files. Okay, so let me click on the first one on my AO, and then you want to check use XR sequences and import. That will import that image here into the list. Okay, now if you really want to have the correct timing, you want to change the frame rate from 30 to 24, which can be changed by right click on the footage, go to interpret footage, man, and then you want to change the frame rate to 24 if that's what you want. Okay, I didn't show you that in class because I forgot it. Okay, it's imported again to the for the diffuse for the beauty. Okay. Again, you want to change the footage timing to 24, otherwise it's gonna play it too fast. Important. Another one, which is gonna be my direct diffuse. Just import all your different passes and then change their frame rate to the correct frame rate. The reason After Effects using 30 as default is probably because TV are using that, but animation are using 24. They're just different standards. Okay. So direct specular 24. And then indirect diffuse. Let me import them first. Okay. And indirect specular, you don't have to select the first one though. You can always just double click on any frame of that render pass. Reflection is actually empty in my render, so I don't really want to load it. Yours should be black too if you're using Ano renderer. Refraction is something I need. And then eventually my Z depths, which is the last one here. Okay, so those are the ones I need. Not sure if I can change them one by one. No, I can't. Alright, so I think I changed the specular. Let me move on to the indirect diffuse and change that to 24. Okay, and then do the same thing for the rest of the frames or the sequences. Okay, now they're all 24 frames per second, which is the settings I have in Maya. But you know that in Maya you can change the frame rate too. So if you're doing for some television thing, and then you need 30 frames per second, by any means use that. Okay. So now we have the frames all loaded in. Let's see how they looks like. Let me drag my beauty to the create composition folder icon. Now I see the render results. It's not a very well controlled render, so I do have something I don't like I think the saturation is too high, the lighting is too even maybe, and you know, all sorts of things I may need to change in the future. So that's what we use to do. That's what we can do with compositing. Okay, so let me delete this master beauty, and then let's load in all those different passes. We have direct diffuse, direct specular, indirect diffuse, indirect specular, refraction. Okay, if you're using Vary, just load the ones that are not beauty and Z depths and AO. Load those ones into the track. Okay. Now you want to change the mode into screen. So right click on the parent, go to column and check mode on. That way you will have the mode column. Let's select the first top 4 layers and then change their their blend mode from normal, which blocks everything underneath, to screen. Okay, that will combine them back together and give you the final image. Okay, the first thing you want to do is do some denoise. Okay, because you got a lot of noise there. If your render quality is quite low, mine is quite low, so I do have a lot of noises. Let me disable all the layers and turn on the first layer. And this layer seems to be okay. It's clean and no noise, so I don't have to do anything about it. Move on to the next one. Now you see this one now have some slight noise. It would be better to see if it's really visible by playing the animation. I think I see some noise. Now that's strong, but still some noise. So to get rid of noise, just right click on it and then go to the effect and then noise and gain and then remove grain. That will try to remove the noise. How much do you want to remove will be defined by the noise reduction setting, and then noise reduction value, if you change that to something higher, you will get lesser noise. Notice that it will also destroy some of the detail, so you don't want to go too far. Some noise I think is actually okay, because you know any real camera footage have noise too. Anyway, so when you're finished, you want to change the viewing mode from preview to final output to apply this entire, to apply the denoise on the entire image. Okay, so I'll just denoise the indirect specular. Let me move on to denoise my indirect diffuse, which also have a lot of noises. Okay, and let me right click on it and give it a effect, noise and grain, and then remove grain. Okay, go to previews, go to the noise reduction settings. I think this setting as 1 is actually pretty decent, so I'm just gonna use the default setting for this one. Okay, oh, still got some, maybe higher, like 3 or so. Okay, but you don't want to go too much, it's gonna really destroy the detail though. But I think indirect lighting is okay, because it's indirect lighting. All I need is its you know, brightness information, maybe not that much detail, so I can maybe do a lot on that one. Okay, so let's move on to the next, which is the direct specular, and the direct specular is actually quite nice, so I don't really want to denoise it. And then let's see the last one, which is the diffuse. Does need some denoising, so go to diffuse, right click, go to effects, and remove grain will also be showed here if you used this earlier. Okay, now let's change that to something, let's see. Oh, I think that's pretty good too. Maybe 2, I guess, would be good. Maybe too much, 1. I don't want to lose detail there. Okay, and final output. Now through all those passes, if you put them back together again, you will see much lesser noise. Okay, very subtle noise out there, but that's acceptable to me. Okay, so that's the denoising process, and that's why we render different render layers, because we can denoise on different layers. Some layer may not need to be denoised because they are quite okay. And if you do that on a final result, like if you only have the master beauty and you denoise on that, you're gonna destroy more detail. Anyway, so that's the denoising process, and the denoising process after that, I'm gonna do some color correction. So right click in the layers, or you can also go to layer, new, and then let's do a adjustment layer. Right click on it, let's give it a new name. This one will be called color correction. Okay, Now what I'm gonna do in this color correction, if you double click, you're gonna go to into this into previewing this color correction layer only, which doesn't make any sense. You can switch back by click the tabs here. This is the one we were using before. Okay, so what I want to do with it is right click on it and go to effects, color correction, and then I want to apply a contrast. Let me right click again in this list. You can directly go to effect, and then you can go color correction again. This time I'm gonna go hue saturation. So what I'm gonna do for this image is give it higher contrast and lesser saturation. Okay, what this does is mimicking what a real camera could do, which is more contrast and less saturation. The more contrast is because camera have limitations of recognizing really dark and really bright areas, and because of that it will make the dark area really dark and the bright area really bright. So in other words, more contrast. Okay, and then lesser saturation is because camera or in real life lighting are being bounced in infinite ways, infinite times, right? So the color should be blended more than what CG can do, because CG only bounces a bunch of times, not to the infinity. So that means the CG render is a bit more saturated or less blended compared to real footage. So that's why I lower down the saturation. Okay, so those are the two things I do to give it realism. So that is color correction, but of course you can do other things if you wanted to give it more detail or contrast or all kinds of stuff. But I'm not gonna do anything else. What I still believe is your render result or the color part of the render should still be figured out in the rendering process, not in the compositing process, because you always have control of how the things looks like in rendering. Tweaking that here is okay, but any tweaking here will give you a slight incorrect result though, because it's like shifting the color but not really considering the actual 3D space and stuff. Alright, so let's move on to use AO. All you have to do is drag AO on top of everything. I think it would be better to drag it actually below color correction, and then you want to change the mode from normal to multiply to apply it. AO will be enhancing the dark area and give you more detail and give you some touch shadow and also make things look heavier. Okay, but oftentimes it's too strong to apply completely on the image. Some of the area is just getting too dark, which is not cool. So you want to fix that. To do so, you just need to press the T button with that layer selected and lower down the opacity. And I often go for only 30% of this layer. Okay, and that's good enough for me. But you can choose, how much you want. More AO will give you heavier result, but not quite. It also destroys the dark areas detail and make it completely black. So you want to avoid that. Okay. So that's all the color correction stuff we can do. Okay, now let's do some depth field, which is gonna use the Z depths. Let's drag the Z depths into a new composition. Okay, and then we can see nothing here because the AO here is raw information. Just remember that if you're using Vary, you can skip this part. But anyway, let's right click on it and go to effects, and then we have something called the 3D channel and then extractor. In there you want to click on the channels and then change RGB to alpha. Alpha you can use either way. This copy means you're copying the original alpha channel from the image to the alpha, which is this one. So both of those means the same thing for the alpha, and let's just press OK. Now it's white. To get the information back, you can drag the slider up, and then the goal is you want to normalize the raw information into the range from 0 to 1. So you want to make the darkest image, or the darkest pixel on this image, completely black. Okay, but you don't want to lose much information though. You also want the brightest pixel on this image to be white, so you can drag that up too until you see very bright colors. Okay, that way we're normalizing the information into black and white, or 0 to 1 range. Okay, let's go back to the render sequence. Oh, sorry, the render beauty. Okay, now go back to project and drag that new render Z into the composition. Let's drag it on top of everything. Okay, let's also go to layer, new. This time I'm gonna create another adjustment layer and right click on it. Let's rename it and call it the Z depths, or FOV, DOV, sorry, depth of field, DOF. Okay, depth of field. Okay, depth of field. This adjustment layer is specifically created for depth of field, but you can also just do that in the color correction. You just want to make things easier to organize. Okay, so anyway, so instead of depth of field, you want to right click and then go to effects and then go blur, which is here, blur and sharpen. You want to go for the camera lens blur. Okay, when that happens, just press the caps lock button. Now you see everything is blurred. You want to go there and change the layer to the render Z. Okay, now you see stuff are blurring more in the front than the back. Okay, to define where the focal is, you can go open the blur focal distance and drag that up. The higher that number is, the more object in the front will be in focus, and the object in the back will be loose focus. But now we're seeing the result on the Z depths, because the Z depths is the bottom layer of the depth of field. But don't worry, to see the actual image, you just add the render Z. Its information will still be read, but we're not seeing the color here because we hidden it. Okay, now you see the back area is out of focus, and the front area are in focus. Okay, so that's how you use depth of field, but you do see some artifacts here. Okay, now my solution for you is just double click into the render Z and then right click on the renderer and give it a new effect, blur, and then Gaussian blur. Just blur the Z depths, because you see very sharp information here, and that's the cause of those aliasing effects. So let's just drag up the blurriness to make it quite smooth like this. Now if you go back to the render beauty, you see they're being smoothed also. Okay, that's my way of get rid of weird depth of field effects inside of After Effects. Okay, so that's depth of field. And then you can use render Z to do something else, like dust. So what you can do is go to layer and new, and this time let's create a solid layer and give it a dusty color, and then press OK, and that will create a new layer. Let's rename it dust. Okay, now this dust for now is not doing it's covering everything and blocking everything underneath it. So what we want to do is change its alpha into something else. But right now the alpha is it can only sample the color information from the layer on top of it as an alpha for this layer. So that means maybe you can drag it downwards, drag it below the render Z, and then you can change the alpha to luminance of the Z depths. Okay, but you see it's inverted, which is not cool. You can also click on it and change that to inverted luminance of the alpha, the Z depths. Now you see the dust is happening on the back. Okay, Of course, you can change how much you want by pressing T on it and drag down the opacity. So maybe it's just a little on the back. Alright. Maybe that's even too much. Right. Depending on what kind of result you want to have. Notice that you're getting the blurry result here. That's because we blurred these z-depths. Okay. So you may want to create a new z-depths if you want to get sharper result here. Okay, but I'm just gonna save time and not doing that, but you can try that for sure. Okay, so now I have some dust effect. I'm gonna call it quite nice, but one of those things you can do is give it another solid. Okay, and then just change its mode to the I think it's overlay, to give it some color tint, and that was too much, so let me lower it down a little. So some color tint will give you a dramatic change on the mode of the render, like this. Oh, by the way, the dust layer, you can also change its mode to soft light. Oh no, not soft light, the lighten, I think. Okay, that way you're actually lighting it up, because the dust is kind of like brightening things up. Anyways, so now I have the picture that looks very different. It has lesser noise, okay, and it has depth of field. It has some color correction. It has some dust applied on it too. So it will look very different compared to before. And let's say this is okay now. I think the saturation is a bit too high. Let me lower it down too. Okay, so let's call it okay now. And then the next step you want to do, if you want to make it more like real footage, is you can do some distortions. So let me select everything here and right click and create a pre-compose, and let's call it color correction and z-depths, or DOF. Okay, because that's what we did with those things. And we'll combine those together as one layer. Of course, you can double click on it to go in and do more changes. Okay, let's go back to the render beauty composite, which you see those are all different composites. This is the render Z we created. This is the composite we just created, which is called the color correction and the DOF. You can double click to switch to them. Okay, now I want to Control C, Control V, duplicate this twice, and for all three of those things, I want to give them a effect called a channels, set channel. Okay. For the first one, I just want to shuffle out the R channel only. So green channel will be off, and blue channel will be off. Okay, so that's R. Green channel, okay, will be only green, so no red or blue. And then the last layer, I'm gonna go for the blue channel only, so no red and no green. Now I have three channels separated into their individual layers. To get the final image back, just right click on them and change just change the blending mode to screen again. And that's how you combine those back together into the final image. Now for RGB 3 channels, I'm gonna distort them differently to get some color bleeding on the edge of the the objects. So for the R channel, let's right click, go to effects. It's gonna be underneath distort, and it's called the optic compensation. Okay, and then you can gradually drag up the field of view to distort the red channel. So I'll go for 5 for the red channel here, and notice that it's not happening in the middle too much, because the distortion will happen more on the side of the render. You see more here, even more here, even more on the very edge. If you really want to have it happens everywhere, I guess you can press the P button and then change the position a little. So maybe give it 1 unit shift to shift the red channel all the way. Oh, 1 unit to the left. So you got that effect on every object, but I don't think that's quite accurate though. Anyway, but let's leave that. I think it looks cool though. So let's right click on the green and do this, and then do the same thing. So effects, distort, and then let's go for the optic compensation again, and this time it's also 5, but I'm gonna distort it in the other direction, which is the reverse. Let's distortion, and maybe we can also I think I'm doing the blue one. Okay, let's do the green one instead. So you can select that and Control X to cut it, and we can go to the green one and paste it here. Okay, no big deal. You can copy and paste the effect from one layer to another. So this one I'm gonna reverse the direction to make the green go other direction. 5 looks like too big here. Let's change that to maybe 3. 3, maybe 2. Don't want to see too much. I only want to feel it, but not really make it super visible to me. I guess there's a lot of color scattering already on the image, so let's just call it okay now. So after that, we can also distort the entire image by go to New, and then go to the New Adjustment Layer, or Layer, New Adjustment Layer. And here what you can do is call it the Lens Distortion. And then you can give it a new effect. It's underneath Distort, and the same thing, Optic Compensation. Okay, you can drag the field of view up to distort it this way, or you want it to do the other way, you can click the reverse, different camera lens giving you different kind of distort. Okay, so you can choose which one you want to go. I only need a little, like that. Notice that because I'm distorting in, I'm getting this gap here. Easy solution would be just select them out and create a new composite. Let's call this Distortion. Okay, now let's just drag this entire composite, holding down Shift and scale it up to fill into this entire frame again. Okay, so that's pretty much it. If your camera is moving really fast, you may want to have something called the motion blur. To do so, just right click on the distortion, go to effects, and then something called the blur sharpen. Oh, sorry, it's underneath time. It's called pixel motion blur. Okay. And what that does is trying to figure out if a pixel have moved and how fast it is moving by sampling surrounding frames, and then do blurry based on that. So I'm gonna give it something like 300. It will blur the let's see, some of the parts when they're moving a lot. Okay. It takes a lot of time to calculate, so you want to leave motion blur the last thing to do. Without motion blur, with motion blur, you see that moving. After Effects does a good job on figuring out which direction the motion blur should go, so that's good. See, it's going this kind of direction. But anyway, so this is motion blur, and when that is done, you're pretty much finished with the compositing. And then you want to export the render. To do so, just press Control M. That will select the composite and Control M. No. Okay, go to composition, and then there's something called add to render queen. It's Control M as default shortcut, but I don't know what's wrong with my shortcut. But if you do that, it will bring you to the render settings here called the render queen, and you want to go to the output module and change the format to QuickTime. Okay, format options, you want to look for H.264. I'm not having it here because I don't have QuickTime installed, so I don't have that, but yours should be able to have that. But don't choose animation because this quality is too high and you don't need that high quality at all. Okay, and then just press OK, and then define the place you want to place it. So I'm gonna put it somewhere on my desktop and then just save and then press render, and that will render this entire sequence into a MOV file. Okay. So that's the entire process of compositing I have mentioned I have went over in last class, and you'll see that the render result is very different. This is the exported version of the render. Okay. So I hope you can try to apply this in your render, and that will really bring up the graphic quality of your image. Okay, just for fun, I'm gonna also show you how to do this in Nuke, but if you don't have time to look at it, you can just stop the tutorial right now and start doing yours. But let me show you how to do that in Nuke. Okay, I'm using the non-commercial version, okay, as a tutorial, but we're not allowed to teach it in class, but I think it's okay to do a tutorial, you know. So this is Nuke. Okay, you can see it's also having a viewport and a timeline. And the difference is it does have used node-based editing instead of layer-based, which is this one. The node-based is called node-based. Here it's called the stack kind of way or linear way. This is non-linear way of editing stuff. Okay, it's not the linear and non-linear of images. Okay, non-linear means the stuff are going to all random directions in the node graph. So what I'm gonna do is go find my render results. Oh, sorry, my renders. My renders from Arnold, which is let's see here. Okay, and the good thing about Nuke is you can click here in the node editor. You can use middle mouse button to drag things, drag the viewport, panning the viewport, middle while to zoom. If you press the R button, it will ask you to load stuff. Okay, and you can paste in the address. Oh, sorry. R again, and then go there, and then you see what it gives you is it can recognize if there are render sequences. You can have all those things here. Okay, just select everything and then open, and that will have everything loaded automatically for you, so it's faster. Let's grab everything and then press the L button to align them like this. Okay, now if you look at the beauty, you can just click on the beauty and press one button to make it view in the viewer. This viewer is it's called viewer 1, and you can select any passes and look at it by pressing 1. And this is my beauty, and let's grab the diffuse, direct diffuse, indirect, direct specular, indirect diffuse, indirect specular, and then refraction. Those are the ones. I don't have anything in reflection, so I don't need that. Anyway, that's Z-depths, that is AO. Okay, so for those ones, I'm gonna merge them together. Like in After Effects, what we did was just have those layers combined together using screen. So here you can do the same thing. Just grab them out and press M button. That's the merge node. You're gonna merge them together. The merge way or the merge method will be changed here in this property panel, and then the merge operation will be you see there are a lot of things. What we're gonna do is the plus or screen that will add them together, and then if you press 1 now, you can view the results of the merge. Oh, doesn't really do much. Let's change that to screen. Oh, it is there already. So merge, if either using plus and screen, they should be similar, but screen is, I think, more accurate. Let's see. Oh, I think plus is more accurate. Then let's change that to plus. So the good thing about Nuke is it's all linear workflow. So that means linear. This linear, I mean, is the color space of images. So now if you view the beauty by pressing 1 and then select the merge and pressing 2, you see you have two inputs, 1 and 2. Okay, 1 is viewing this and 2 is viewing the combined version of all the passes. And you can press 1 and 2 here. You see it's toggling to view 1 and 2. You see you're getting the same results. Okay, that's really important, and that's not true in After Effects. The combined version of those 5 will be different, slightly brighter than the Master Beauty for some reason. But in Nuke, if you combine them in the correct way, you're getting exactly the same results. Okay. Anyway, so you see, merging those together with the merge and then view it in the viewport is just like, it's just like having those layers and change those into screen, right? So they're just different ways of doing stuff, but node-based to me is more convenient because you can be very flexible with stuff. But anyway, so let's denoise those things. Select the first one and press 1 and see it. It does have some noise, right? So you can press the tab button and tap in denoise, just like how you create new nodes in Maya. Okay, denoise will be asking you where to denoise. It will give you a sample square. Let's drag the square to where the noise is. Okay, and then you can press D button to disable and enable it to toggle to see the difference. Okay, you see denoise actually does a good job of denoising it. Of course, you can change the denoise amount to get rid of more or get rid of more or lesser noise. So this denoise will be exactly the equivalent of the remove grain here in After Effects. So you see how we did things here in Nuke. But you know, but for the same purpose, which is denoising. So this one is okay, and that one, let's see, is not okay. So let me give it a denoise too. Okay, now drag that sample to somewhere on the top. I think that's where the noise is. Okay. Notice that I have two square now because I have both of their those two denoise inside of the properties. Okay, you can have up to 10 properties showing here. You can change that to something like 1. That means you're only reading 1 or setting 1 of the nodes here. That way, I'm not seeing that square anymore because it's not in the property list. So I'm denoising the indirect diffuse here. Okay. Refraction is okay. Indirect specular needs denoising, so denoise again. We can also just Ctrl C to copy this and then select this the indirect specular and Ctrl V to paste. Okay, so we're copying this one to there. Okay, now you see in this workflow, things becomes easier to read because you can clearly see that I denoised 3 channels, but I don't denoise the other 2. Okay, and let's see the final results. Okay, so this is the denoised version. Let's view the original one. You can clearly see the difference, right? But you do lose some detail though, which is the problem with denoising. So you may want to at least get rid of the noise as much as you can in the rendering process. Anyway. Oh, okay. You can drag those arrows to, you know, disable their connections. You can also just drag it. Those arrows are the flow of information. All right. So denoise is done. Let's do some color correction. Okay. So here you can press the C button to create a color correction node, after merge. Again, just select the merge and then press the C button. That will load the color correction into it. And then you can do things like what I did before, contrast. Okay, more contrast. Okay, and less saturation. Now you see the color correction here is more flexible. By that, what I mean is you see you can do the color correction on the shadow, which is darker area, and the midtone and highlights. So it kind of like more intelligent than After Effects, because I have to create two nodes to do the same thing that the Nuke can offer me with this one color correction node. And I can also maybe make the shadow lesser saturation, to give it interesting effect. You see only the dark area are losing saturation, but I don't want to change it too much though. I think it's also kind of dark, so I can press G button, which is something called the grade, and I can gamma it up a little to make the image brighter. Okay. If you don't know where are you don't know if a node exists or not, you can go to here on the left side. Those are all the nodes available for Nuke. You can press tab and type in their name to create one. So we did some color correction, which is exactly like what we did here in After Effects, which is this color correction layer. Okay, now let's move on to the depth field. Okay. Now here is a little different. Oh, I haven't do AO yet. Okay, let's do AO here. So for the AO, we can do AO before color correction. Just need to give me more space. Now I can multiply AO right on top of the stream. Okay, and change multiply is merge, which the shortcut is M. So if you press M, you're gonna create a merge. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is change the merge from over to multiply. Okay, and then I can change the amount by dragging the mix down. You see, it's the same thing. Yeah, you see, it's the same thing, right? So in here, what we did is just drag the AO down and then change that to multiply. It's the same thing, just with this time it's with a merge node. Okay. Although sometimes people do it differently in Nuke. So what people actually do is a grade. You can press G to create a grade, drag it to the arrow. This line here is going to be placed in between this node flow, and then you can drag the mask of the grade to the AO. That means you're using AO as the mask of the grade. So the grade effect will be applied based on the mask. Okay, or the dark area will not be affected by this. Now in the grade, if you're grading things down, you still see like stuff are being all grayed down. That's because it's trying to read the alpha channel of the AO as the mask. But what you want to do is actually it's red channel. So change that to red. Okay, now if you grade down, you see, the gamma down. You see only the bright area is getting down, which is not correct either. You can check this invert to invert the mask. That way you can grade down the darker area, gamma down the darker area, or the AO darker area. So the difference is merge and multiply will destroy more information, but grading the dark area down will also preserve information better than multiply. So that's why this is better than multiply. Okay. Of course you can do that in After Effects. You can create a new adjustment layer and use the AO as the alpha of that adjustment layer, and then lower use curve or anything to lower down the darker area, but it's also kind of complicated. So I didn't do that at the very beginning. So now you see the streamline. We denoise, we merge them together, we use AO, and then we did some color correction. Let me drag that back. Okay. And then let's move on to something else, like Z depths. Okay, so we have the Z depths channel, but it's lived in the alpha channel of the Z. If you press 1 there, okay, and then you see nothing. But when you move your cursor, you see some information here on the alpha channel. That's RGB and alpha. You see alpha is having range from you know, maybe 600 or 700 here, all the way back to 100 and 1400 or so. And you see, that's the numbers we got when we try to do this black point. You see 1400, right? That's what that number is when you normalize stuff. Okay, so here to use the z-depths, you actually need to do something called the shuffle copy. Okay, by pressing tab and then pressing F, and it will create shuffle copy. Let's connect the color correction result to the shuffle copy, and also connect a render Z there. What shuffle copy is, it's getting the information from one node and blend it or added it to the another node. So from the render Z, what we want to get is, if you look at the attribute here, we have two inputs, okay, 1 and 2. 2 is the Z, 1 is the correct results, or color corrected result, or anything we did earlier, right? That's what this input 1 is. So what we want from input 1 is this RGB channel. So let's check on RGB. Okay, so we're using the RGB channel of the input 1, which is this, the one we did before, and output those as RGB. So those are the inputs, going down arrows, those are inputs, outputs will be RGB here. Now for the input 2, which is the z-depth, we want to use its alpha as the depth. So you want to create a new channel called the depth channel, and then the depth channel is reading the input 2's alpha channel, which is here. So you see what it does is the output of this shuffle will have RGB, alpha, and Z. The alpha is from the alpha of the input 1, which is the things we did earlier. Okay, and you know, RGB, alpha, all 4 of those things are reading the input 1, and the input 2 are reading its alpha here as the depth. Okay, so that's how you get the depth into the streamline. And then later on, if you want to do the depth field, you just need to create a node called Z defocus. Okay, it's like the camera lens blur. Okay, just drag it into the streamline. Now it will defocus everything, but you see there's something called the focal point created there. You can drag the focal point to anywhere you want it to be in focus, maybe on the desk. Now you see the desk is now in focus, and the back and the front may lose focus. Okay, the good thing about this is that you can define anywhere you want to be in focus, okay, manually, and it's going to be much easier than trying to do that in After Effects. One more good thing about it is the setting here is giving you more control. You can change the output from result to the focal plane setup, and you see what it does is give you a red and a blue colors. Those two are areas that are out of focus, and if you zoom really close, there are some green dots. Those are the ones actually are in focus. Okay, so if you want to have the depth field bigger, you can change the depth field, and what it does is it expands the green area, and anything inside of the green area will be in focus, and anything outside of it, the red ones will be the background that are not in focus. The blue ones are the foreground that are not in focus. Okay, so you can set up this one with more flexibility. Okay, if you want the lamp to be also out of focus, you can drag the depth field down. Okay, and if you drag the focal point to any different area, you can see the different distribution of you know, the depth field. Anyway, so when you're happy with your setup, you can change the output to final result, and you see the focused area is here, and the defocused area is the front and the back. Okay, of course you can change the focus amount by changing the size to have more defocus. Okay, you still have that bad information though, because that's just the limitation of z-depths. Okay, so you can of course blur the Z by press the tab button and type in blur. Okay, and the blur will blur our channels. You can blur the Z depths. Okay, the same thing to get you know, the a better result than before. Okay, you see it's just the same thing applied in different ways. But I prefer this node-based way because it's just easier to see what I did. Like I blurred the Z depths and, you know, and I Z defocus it based on that. You know, it's just easier for me to read through, and it's also quite reusable. For example, if you have a different set of images, you can just, you know, delete those and load in the new ones and connect those to those nodes, and they will all be calculated the same way, right? So it's reusable too. Okay, let's use Z depths also here to do the dust. So press tab and create a constant, and the constant will be the solid color layer equivalent, and you can change the color into a dust color. Let me check that up. Okay. Something like that. Okay, and then I'm gonna merge it again on top of the other ones. The merge way will be changed to, let's try screen. Okay, now right now it's taking full effect. That's when Z depths comes in handy. You can drag that to the Z depths. Okay, but the problem with the Z depths is raw information, right? So we have to normalize it anyways. So let's create a grade, or just press G to grade the Z depths. We can actually view the Z depths. You can press A to view the alpha. Okay, now we can do the black point and drag that one up and down, but sometimes it's hard to see what it is. You can click on that little color icon here and holding down Control to sample. Also do white point too. Not seeing anything. Oh, that's because we're viewing alpha. So let's shuffle it first. What shuffle does is you can shuffle the channels, just like how we shuffle the things back in After Effects. When we were doing the distortion, we shuffle those three into RGB only, right? This is the same thing, but here I would just want to shuffle everything into alpha. Okay. Let's see. Now in the grid, if you can double click any node to switch to their settings. So in the grid, I'm gonna go search for the values. It's a little hard to see where it is. Okay, let's just type in the numbers we have before in After Effects. The good thing about After Effects is you can drag. Okay, we cannot do that here though. Okay, I need to type in numbers, right, because the dragging don't go too far than that. Okay, so I think here black point is like 1400. Okay, white point is like 700 or so. So we're doing the same thing exactly like before what we did in After Effects. You can try sampling things by dragging, but it doesn't really do a good job though. So 1400. Okay. Anyway, now we are getting the information normalized from Z depths, so that way when we do this merge and then change the mask, as remember we are using RGBs, so change that to RGBA red to read the red channel as the alpha. Okay, and then let's see, I think I can, because the alpha is kinda also not really strong contrast wise, I can grade it one more time and then drag the black points up a little. Now you see that, oh, it's not doing that either. I think I have to change that to RGB red. Okay, now you see the dust is only in the front. Of course, I can change the grade to define how much do I want. Okay, can also just give it a invert of the, oh, sorry, double click on the merge to change that to invert. Okay, now I have full control of, you know, how much do I want by dragging the grade black and white points. Okay, and then I can also go to the merge by double click on it and lower down the mix to have more or less of the dust. Okay. So your Nuke is just sometimes gives you more flexible control though, which I think is better than After Effects in that manner. Okay, I think the color of my dust is not quite what I want. Maybe something warmer. Okay. Alright. So that is the dust effect, and we have depth of field, dust, all kinds of stuff. So we're now right here with everything. So then lens distortion is something we want to do, right? So lens distortion will be here. We want to do shuffle, and we need 3 shuffles actually. Now they're all coming from this merge final results here. And this shuffle, let's double click on this one. Let's change the name to R, which means this R channel. And then we're gonna read R as R, but other things, G and B, will be all black. That way when we look at it, it's the R channel. Okay, so G channel will be here, green. Okay, so green will be there, but R will be all 0 and the blue is all 0. Oh, sorry, I was still doing the R1. Okay, so this is the R1. Okay, this one is gonna be the blue one, so let's change that to B. Oh, sorry, G, green one. So the R and the B will be all black. So now we have R, G. Okay, so you can select the other one and double click on it and press 3. That's gonna load that into the third input. So you can 1, 2, 3 to toggle those. Okay, so this time blue will be okay, R and G will be all turned off. So now they're all separated into RGB channels. Okay, let's name this B. And then to combine them together, just one more merge to merge them back together. Okay, now this merge will be changed to the plus to add them back together. Okay, now I have RGB channels. And then I can select RGB, and then I can give them something called the distortion. Okay, lens distortion, and then I can distort it this way. I think the value here would be something really small, like 0.2 is even too big. Maybe 0.005 to distort the R channel a little. It's still too much, maybe 1. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so let's Control C, select the G, Control V, and B, Control V. Now for the G, I'm gonna distort it to negative. To the other direction. Okay, now for the blue one, maybe just distort it not that much. So 0.005. Okay, so they're all distorted. Notice that they're not distorting a lot in the middle, maybe not even a single, but they do distort on the side. Of course, if you want to translate those things, you can just press the T button I'll give you a transform, and you can transform them a little bit, like 1 frame on the X for the right channel. So the right channel is being transformed a little. Okay, 2 maybe too much. 1. Also translate the green one, just maybe a -1 to make the green offset. Now you see it's happening everywhere. Alright. Again, you don't want it to be too visible though. Now we have all the color scattering. Let's then adding in the last one, which is a lens distortion eventually, right? And this lens distortion will distort this entire thing. Now there are a lot of things you can do, like you can analyze the footage to figure out what it is, which is interesting. But anyway, so this time let me distort it in again. Now you see I'm getting the distort effect, but also I'm getting the edge too. So I need to create something called the crop to crop it. Okay, and then you can drag the edges of the crop to crop it. You can also just type in numbers. But let me just do that manually. Okay. And that is it. That's everything recreated in Nuke instead of ZBrush. Sorry, After Effects, not ZBrush. But anyway, you see, we're basically doing the same thing using a different tool. You see what Nuke does is all those node-based ways. Okay. Good thing about node-based is always the clarity, so you see what is going on. If you don't, you can always select the things and press the create a comment on them. So or just see. No, forget the shortcut for the comment. What's the shortcut? No, not B. See others, and then backdrop is the one I need. What's the shortcut for it though? The backdrop is more like a container. Okay, so what that does is everything inside of it will be followed by it, and then you can label it. You can press space to optimize or maximize a panel. So you can give it a label like reading and denoising. Okay, let's make the text bigger. Now you see this part is reading and denoising, so it's really clear what you're doing, and you see you can grab those things and call them color correction. I wonder what's the shortcut for it. Can't believe I forget it. I was so rely on the muscle memory on this, I don't remember it now. Okay, so let's call this color correction. Okay, and then other things, I think you can do all those kind of things on those different parts. But yeah. So this is Nuke, and if you're interested in, you can get a non-commercial version. The limitation is you can only do the highest resolution you can go for is 1080p, which is not bad at all. Okay, now output eventually is you select the last node here and press the not merge. Oh, W, ret. That will write out the image sequence. You can choose different ways to export it, but I will just export image sequences. That's what Nuke does. Nuke doesn't export MOV files, though. It does. It can try that, but go to the files and let me create a new folder called output. Okay. and then you can oh, okay, can name it. Can you type in MOV? Okay, we'll try to do MOV for you. And you can go to the settings, which is let's see, where is the settings? Oh, those different code and stuff, and it will ask you render, you know, the FPX and all sorts of stuff, but it will render the timeline from frame 1 to frame 120. Oh, by the way, this is a timeline. You can drag it or you can play it there. Anyway, so if you want to export it, just go to create a write and go to file and type in the name and the file extension, and Nuke will know what you mean, and then you can choose of course different output settings and then do render, and it will ask you the which frames and, you know, different stuff, and just press OK. Then it will start rendering, and it's gonna take a little while because I have all those different things applied to it. Anyway, so this is Nuke. Hope you guys are interested in it because it's more flexible than After Effects in all sorts of ways. It even have a 3D space you can rotate around. Okay, like that. You can even create camera, create 3D scenes. There is a very plugin for Nuke to render stuff. But anyway, this is Nuke, and that's for the entire compositing. And your assignment will be to use After Effects. Okay, Nuke is just for preview. Okay, we will buy Nuke next year. So until then, we are still using After Effects by any means. So use After Effects to compose your final render. Okay, of course you need to fix your render texturing, lighting, and all sorts of stuff. Make it good in the rendering process, as good as possible, and then do some compositing to make it even better. And then I need 120 frames from you, but if you don't have that much time, I guess at least give me like 50 frames. Okay, so we can see like at least 2 seconds of animation playing through. Now the purpose of making you render animation is not because you have to render animation every time. Most of the time, maybe 1 frame is what you need, especially when it's for architectural visualization. But you will render animation in the far future, not so far future. So it's better to start learning how to render animation now than later. Okay, so thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.